नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल दोस्तों। स्वागत है आपका एक बार फिर से हमारे YouTube चैनल ब्रास फ्यूजन्स पर, जहां हम आपके लिए एक बार फिर से लेकर आए हैं एक नया लेसन।
Alright. So what I was basically saying is that order to somebody asked a question also. Okay, yes, obviously in the written complaint, Anjali is asking in the complaint we have to write that we relinquish the claim. Yes, you have to write in the plaint that you are relinquishing the claim. Alright. So if there is a claim that you have, when you are filing a suit, you have to ask for the entire claim. The only exception to this is that if you want to relinquish a claim, मतलब छोड़ देना. If you are relinquishing a claim for the purpose that you want the case to fall under the jurisdiction of a particular court, in that case you can relinquish the claim, but you cannot later claim that property, right? Once you have relinquished, you cannot claim that thing again. Then let's come to Rule 2. What does Rule 2 say? Rule 2 says relinquishment of part of claim, which means what? Where a plaintiff omits to sue in respect of or intentionally relinquish any portion of his claim, he shall not afterwards sue in respect of the portion so omitted or relinquished. Now, which means what? अगर आपका क्लेम था 10 लाख रुपए का, लेकिन आप इंटेंशनली रेलिंक्विश करते हैं एनी पोर्शन ऑफ अ क्लेम, then you cannot ask for that claim again. जो मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया, फॉर एग्जांपल you owe somebody owes you 10 lakh rupees, but you file a suit only for claiming 8 lakh rupees, and you are not claiming 10 lakh rupees from him, but later you want to file a suit for the remaining 2 lakh rupees, you will not be allowed to do that. Right? Is this portion clear, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Class, please respond.
Yes,
ठीक है,
yes.
जितना आपका क्लेम बनता है, you have to ask for the entire amount. If you're not asking for the entire amount, later on you cannot say कि मेरा इतना तो रह ही गया था इस क्लेम में से, इस cause of action में इतना तो रह ही गया था, तो इसके लिए भी दोबारा सूट फाइल करो. That is not allowed. Now, what does Rule 3 say? Rule 3 says omission to sue for somebody's mic is on. Please switch off your mic. Somebody's mic is on. Because if your mics are on, then voice starts echoing and breaking and all. All of you, please keep your mics off. Okay, fine. All right. Now, omission to sue for one of the several reliefs. A person entitled, I'm reading order to Rule 2, Sub-Rule 3. It says a person who is entitled to more than one relief in respect to the same cause of action may sue for all or any of the reliefs, but if he omits, except with the leave of the court, to sue for all such reliefs, he shall not afterwards sue for any relief so omitted. An explanation says, for the purpose of this rule, an obligation and a collateral security for its performance and successive claim arising under the same obligation shall be deemed to be restrictive of one cause of action. That's fine. See, what does this mean? This means that with respect to one cause of action, if a person could have asked for several reliefs, more than one relief, but in the plaint is asking for only one relief and not the other, later on he cannot ask for the other relief until and unless the relief was omitted with the permission of the court. What it really means is, let's say there is a breach of contract. Right? Now, what are the reliefs that you can ask for a breach of contract? You can ask for specific performance of the contract. You can ask for damages, right? So these are the two reliefs that you can ask for in a suit for breach of contract, right? Let's say you filed a suit and you asked the court for specific performance of the contract, और आपने damages या compensation मांगे ही नहीं, which you could have asked in this case, right? और कोर्ट ने आपका स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का केस रिजेक्ट कर दिया, ठीक है? कोर्ट से नो, वी कैन नॉट ग्रांट यू स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. You did not ask for that relief of damage or compensation. Now, what you want to do is you want to file a fresh suit claiming damages or compensation. Rule 2, Order to Rule 2, Sub-Rule 3 says this is not allowed. You should have asked for all the relief that you can ask in a particular cause of action at the same time. Only exception that if of the court needed other reliefs available later on. अगर कोर्ट ने आप कोर्ट से परमिशन मांगी है और कोर्ट ने आपको परमिशन दे दी है, then and only then you will be allowed to ask for another release later on. But otherwise, जो भी relief आप एक cause of action पे मांग सकते थे, you should put these reliefs in the pair. Because अगर आप वो नहीं लिख रहे हैं, in that case you cannot again file a suit and claim these reliefs. Is this point clear, class?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Everybody. Okay. So there is an illustration. All right, good. So there is an illustration which says A lets a house to be at a year. Okay, A lets a house to be at a yearly rent of rupees 1,200. The rent of whole of the year of 1905, 1906, and 1907 is due and unpaid. A sues B for 1908 only for the rent due in 1906. He shall not afterwards sue for the rent which is due for 1905 and 1907, which basically means there is a landlord. He is filing suit against the tenant. Why is filing a suit? Because the tenant has not paid a rent for 3 years, right? Now, in this case, the landlord who is the plaintiff could have asked for, obviously, should have asked for rent for all these 3 years. 1905, 6, 7, तीनों साल का अगर ड्यू था, he should have asked for all these 3 years rent. But what he does, he asks for only, he's only claiming rent for 1 year, which is 1905. वो 6 और 7 का rent claim कर ही नहीं रहा है, relief में मांग नहीं रहा है. Then this order says he cannot later on file another suit and ask for relief, ask for rent of 1906 and 1907, which means at the timing of filing of the suit, whatever relief, whatever prayer you can make to the court, you should include all the reliefs that you're asking for. Your entire claim should be included in it. अगर आप किसी claim को छोड़ देते हो, नहीं include करते हो, तो बाद में आप उसके लिए दोबारा से suit नहीं file कर सकते, दोबारा से उसे claim नहीं कर सकते. Clear, class? Class, is it clear?
Ma'am, can you explain the explanation part?
Explanation part says what? For the purpose of this rule, an obligation and a collateral security for this performance. For the purpose of this rule, an obligation and a collateral security for its performance and the success arising under the same obligation shall be deemed respectively to constitute but one cause of action. Which this explanation can be given by method of example of mortgage. For example, there is a mortgage and a property has been mortgaged and a loan has been taken and a property has been mortgaged as a security for that loan, right? So any claim that you have with respect to that money, I need my money back, and any claim that you can make with respect to the mortgage property, that for the purpose of claiming that money, I want my this mortgage property to be sold, or I want its forfeiture, या जो भी right आके हैं, they will be included as one claim. This is what it means. कि आप mortgage का forfeiture के अलग से सूट करें, mortgage की sale के लिए अलग से सूट करें, और अपने money को claim करने के लिए अलग से सूट करें, that is not allowed. And this will all be part of one suit itself. That's what it means. Clear?
Ma'am. Okay.
Yes.
Ma'am, what if there's a situation where the plaintiff is not aware that he is entitled to more than one release in that case? So
see, that depends, because ignorance law is no excuse, first of all. But however, if the case is that relief was not available at the time of filing the suit and that relief is available afterwards, then in that case he can ask for always amendment of pleadings. See, amendment of pleadings is always available. When we do amendment of pleadings, the greatest tool that is in the hands of all both parties. So the court could always ask for amendment of pleading, praying that, look, I was not at that time I was not aware or this relief was not available. Now I have this relief available, so please grant me that relief.
Okay, good.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, till what time we have right to amend the plaint? In which stage we can?
This is a huge case. This is a huge issue, and we'll do that when we do amendment of pleadings. Don't worry about that. We'll discuss this in detail. Earlier the rule was something else, then was an amendment, then was a case. So we'll do that in detail when we do amendment of pleadings. Right?
Okay.
All right, class. Now let's move ahead and let's do the difference between res judicata and res subjudice. Now the difference between res judicata and res subjudice, I'll discuss. All right. See, when we look at the comparison between res judicata and res subjudice and difference between them, we find that first, res judicata applies only in the case where a suit is pending. Right? There is a previously instituted suit, and that suit is pending in court, and that is when res subjudice is going to apply. However, when does res judicata apply? Res judicata applies when the former suit has been heard and finally decided. So in this case, the suit having heard and finally decided, and in that case, the case is still pending. Right? Now, second difference is that in respect to section 10, which is res subjudice, it applies only on the whole suit. It does not apply on issues. Right? Whereas in case of section 11, that is res judicata, we have studied in section 11 itself that it applies on suits as well as Rinku, it applies on suits as well as issues. You have said, could you please explain rule 2 again? Is it clear or should I explain? Rinku?
No, actually I am not clear with the rule.
See, rule का simple meaning है, if you could ask court for some relief. It is a rule it is a provision to deal with the relief. Which means what? Which means कि आप कोर्ट से जो भी रिलीफ मांग सकते थे, आपको सब कुछ मांगना है, सारी पूरी मांगनी है. अगर आप जो भी रिलीफ कोर्ट से मांग सकते थे, आपने कोर्ट उस टाइम नहीं मांगी, तो बाद में आप एक दूसरा सूट फाइल करके दोबारा रिलीफ मांगे बची हुई, that is not allowed. That is what this rule says. If you had a claim on someone, if you had somebody has taken 10 lakh rupees from you, you are now filing a suit only 5 lakh. ये सोच रहे हो कि बच्चे 5 लाख के लिए मैं दोबारा क्लेम कर लूंगा, इन 5 लाख तो मिल जाए, ये अलाउड नहीं है. आपको एक ही बारे में जितना भी वो you have to file in the suit that you're filing, you have to ask for that amount, right? Secondly, it talks about in one suit there is a possibility that we can have more than one relief. Like in a breach of contract, you have a relief, you can ask for specific performance also, and you can ask for damages, compensation also, right? तो आप क्या करते हो, आपने जो सूट फाइल किया, आप उस सिर्फ स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ सूट मांग लेते हो, और उसमें आप you do not ask for compensation or damages, right? Now your specific performance is not granted you. Now you file a suit in the court and you tell the court, no, now give me damages. So that is not allowed. You're supposed to ask for all the relief possible, right? Now, Devansh asking, ma'am, in order to rule 2, when we apply for second relief, see, res judicata need not apply because there is a specific provision given in order to rule 2 that this is not allowed. Res judicata is a generic provision which applies in all kind of suit, but when it comes to relief matters, order to rule 2 is sufficient, and that is why we read order to rule along with res judicata. So that has to be read with. Fine? Okay. So I think we got deviated. Let's come back to the difference between res subjudice and res judicata. In res subjudice, we have seen that first difference we have seen that there is a suit which is pending. But in res judicata, the former suit is heard and finally decided, right? Second difference is that res subjudice does not apply on issues; it only applies on suits, whereas res judicata applies on both suits and issues. Third is it says res subjudice basically bars because the suit was previously instituted. In res subjudice, there has to be a previously instituted suit which is going to act as a stay on the subsequently instituted suit. But in the case of res judicata, when we talk about former suit, I've told you this in the last class, former suit not always means a suit which was previously instituted, but former suit basically means a suit which is decided earlier in time. Fine, explanation 1 of section 11 talks about it. Right? Okay, then we have what other difference?
मैम थर्ड डिफरेंस रिपीट कर दो.
इफ यू डिग्री थर्ड डिफरेंस ये है कि रेस्टिकेटा के लिए एक सूट अगर पहले इंस्टीट्यूटेड है, सेकंड सूट पे आप स्टे लगाओगे. रेस्ट जुडिकेटा में क्या होता है, दैट फॉर्मर सूट मींस जिसका डिसीजन पहले आया है, इररेस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द फैक्ट कि वो पहले इंस्टीट्यूट हुआ या बाद में इंस्टीट्यूट हुआ. I did this when I discussed explanation 1 in the last class. Right? Okay. Then another difference is that if there is a decree which is passed in violation of section 10, then it is not null and void. It is a mere irregularity. अगर section 10 का violation भी हो जाता है, parties can even give up this right. We will go for res subjudice की application नहीं लगाएंगे, या we can let go of this right. They can relinquish this right under section 10. It is fine. The decree which is given by the court will be null and void. Right? However, if there is a decree which is given in violation of section 10, then that decree will be null and void. Right? So these are some of the differences that we have done between res judicata and res subjudice. And this all with respect to the theory portion that is concerned. We will do the cases in the next class. Right? And now I'll take your attendance. If you have any doubt, please type in the chat box till the time I'm taking the attendance. And then I'll take your doubt. So very quickly, Hemant, G. Praveen, Hemant.
दोस्तों, ब्रास फ्यूजन आशा करता है कि आपको हमारा लेसन पसंद आया होगा. कमेंट बॉक्स में अपना फीडबैक देना ना भूलें. थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग.